Aha! I do lift. I do lift. I do have footage. Yeah, I do lift in the gym, right? And I do sorta heavyweight. Sorta. Sorta heavyweight. Oh, but yeah, anyways, hi everyone. Welcome to the vlog. I'm recording this on a Saturday, so we just completed 6 weeks out training and we're heading into 5 weeks out. We're getting that much closer to the show. Mm-mm. So, registration is already done. I'm gonna do men's bodybuilding novice and open. My hotel reservation is set. The polygraph appointment also set. The thing that really needs to be done now, and it's like the last thing, is to get the tanning done or the tanning appointment set. I haven't heard back from them yet because I think I threw out a email Thursday or Friday. I think Thursday. So I haven't heard back from them yet. So hopefully I'll get something maybe by Tuesday, at least the latest. Otherwise I'll have to call in for it. But yeah, that's already set. Start thinking about how much money I need to set on the side for like travel expenses and obviously food and gas and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot to spend for one show, right? Because the hotel is already expensive. I'm already spending like a little over 300 for 2 nights. Hurts my heart. Anyways, let's talk about last week. So, before we get into the deadlift stuff, let's talk about the big thing that really surprised me last week, and that is the weight drop. Yeah. So I started off last Sunday at 132, coming off, fairly heavy from, or fairly heavier, from a Saturday refeed. And so start off 132, and this was using the carb cycling plan where the leg days would be the high carb days, and then the low days would be the pull days. And so I'll do that twice over the legs push pull. So the first half, it was pretty good. So I went from 132 down to 131 on the dot, coming into Wednesday. So starting Wednesday, with that leg day, I did the typical high carb thing. But when we got into Thursday, my weight drop, I already hit my weight goal through the week, and it was Thursday. So I was like, huh, maybe I could eat a little bit more. So actually, instead of doing the high carb stuff, I ate carbs or I ate macros similar to the leg day, and I did that. Then coming into Friday, weight drop. I'm like, okay, so I'm past my weekly goal. So instead of a low carb day, I'm going to eat a little bit more. So I actually ate a little bit more higher macros than Thursday, and then coming in today, I actually came in under 130. So I actually broke 130 in this prep, and that surprised the hell out of me. Because for one, I got under 130, and two, it was a 2 pound net loss for the week. So yeah, I had to really figure out how I want to do it. So with this refeed day, I actually maybe ate a tad bit more carbs. So maybe I'll come in a little bit more heavier the workout tomorrow, but at least I know my metabolism is running pretty rampant. Ugh. The woes of doing your own prep, right? It's just one of those things where, maybe one of these days, maybe not this year, but maybe the next competition year, I'm gonna get an actual coach to prep me, and hopefully I'll have enough money for it, So, but when we get there, we'll get there. So let's talk about that deadlift footage really quick. So I recorded that last Tuesday, and the weird thing about Tuesday was that um, the gym was packed, oddly enough, on a Tuesday. It was weird. Like I weightlift um, in the evening hours, at least at my gym towards closing, because it's a fairly small family commercial gym, and so they're not open 24 hours. So the gym closes at 10 in the evening, and I usually get in at like maybe like 7:45 to 8 o'clock. But when I got into the parking lot, it was packed. I'm like, okay, so I usually park a little bit closer towards the entrance. No, I actually had to park a little bit more farther away. So I was like, man, is there anything going on in the gym? Did I miss something? Did they post something on the Facebook, or anything? So I got in. I see a little bit more people on the cardio machines. I was like, okay, maybe just people doing cardio. Then when I get to the weight floor, a lot of the stations were used up. So I was like, this is not good. And then when I get to the place where I usually deadlift, um, all the barbells were used up. So I was like, yeah, I can't deadlift. So I actually had to resort to a plan B, which I wasn't ready for. So, even though I should be ready for like a plan B and plan C, I just didn't really know what to do on a strength day. So I was like, oh, so I actually had to make it up on the fly, but I actually got my deadlift volume in at the end of the workout, or at the end of the back exercises, I should say. And so I got the volume in, but those 4 sets that I recorded were like miscellaneous sets because I actually wanted to see how my speed coming off the ground was with using heavier weights. Because I felt like when I do my deadlifts, I have a really hard time pulling it off the ground. It's like that's like the weakest thing about my deadlift. You know, pulling it off the ground. But once I reach that leverage point, past the bar, past the shins, that's when everything is a little bit easier and I can stand straight up. But looking at the footage, my speed is pretty good. But I think it's one of those things where it's like I haven't accepted good yet. Accepted real good. I'm in that mentality where it's like, okay, Ray, you still have a lot more work to do, right? So nothing's good, but nothing's bad. It's just like you're in a work in progress spot. So you just do a little bit more, and then we're just stepping closer towards perfection. So it's never a good thing. There's never a bad thing. There's just a perfected thing and a really shitty thing. At least I'm not shitty. I'm just kind of there in the middle, right? And so that's where I accepted where I am progress wise. So yeah, so that's the footage. So I managed to catch that. Yeah, so last week was a surprise and a lot of weird stuff, but this 5 weeks out, this is where things will kind of get pretty sticky because now I have 28 days of training before we head into peak week. So now I got to think about um, really specifying my training approach now. And what I mean by specifying my training approach, it's more like making sure everything is efficient and making sure that I'm actually working on something rather than just going into the gym. Okay, let's hit this, let's hit that, let's do this. Okay, I'm feeling kind of good. I could probably put this in there. No, I'm still working with a program. Still working with my typical program, my legs push pull. The legs push pull is still geared towards working on the big three because that's how I um, arrange the workouts to work on bench, squat, and deadlifts. So I really need to just make sure I keep my focus on training those. It's just make sure to add the bodybuilding stuff to it, which is going to be through the accessory work, right? So for the big three, the bench, squat, and deadlifts, what I want to work for this week is dialing in the technique. So so it's going to be like hitting threes and fives and such like that, not really going heavy, but um, I need to just kind of get the setup all correct now. Deadlifts are pretty fine because I think I've been more focused on deadlifts going into this prep than um, deadlifting ever. So but I feel like my bench press has deteriorated just simply because of the strength loss. And if anything, as my weight goes down, my bench press is the first thing to go. But my bench press has been going back up. It's just the way I set up under the bar has been inconsistent as of lately, like these past couple of weeks. So I really want to try and focus on getting everything right, making sure I'm sticking with the hand placement on the bar because I'm always playing with maybe middle finger on the rings, or maybe ring fingers on the rings, maybe pinkies on the rings, and this is on the bar. When I mean the rings is the little smooth rings between the grit. So yeah, so that's been inconsistent. Even my squats have been inconsistent as well, where I'm playing around with foot width placement, because I've been training at least like the last couple sessions with a narrow stance. But sometimes I do feel better with a little bit more wider stance. Not so wide stance, because if I do very wide stance, then I probably should low bar and use a flatter shoe. But I also feel good with a slightly wider stance, and the hand placement on the bars, sometimes makes it a little bit closer. Sometimes I feel a little bit better going wide. Maybe sometimes I do need to use my wrist wraps to make sure that my wrists aren't, in a painful position. So I just need to figure that out, and I guess that's something to work towards while still kind of hitting my numbers, at the same time, because I feel like I'm in a good spot where my numbers wise. Let's just try to fix the technique, and hopefully I could try and progress up that, as I'm fixing my technique. So that way we can do like slight overload and progress. We need to progress. That's the big thing about weightlifting. We need to progress. So I want to do that for the big three, or at least two of the big three, because deadlifts are pretty down. And then for volume, what I want to do with volume is, I guess I just want to eliminate just the excess stuff, because I feel like I'm doing a little bit too much. Like an example would be doing bent over rows, barbell bent over rows, and then maybe I'll do another horizontal exercise, just something different. So maybe like a cable seated row, and then I'll do another horizontal row. So um, because what I'm seeing is like, I think just doing a little bit excess stuff, so like 3 horizontal pulls, I don't feel good going into the vertical pull stuff, and I think that's where I'm losing a lot of potential, just because I kind of built up that unnecessary fatigue by repeating the movement again when I'm already tired going into it. Um, so what I'm thinking about with that is, just eliminate that exercise, and let's add maybe like, some extra sets, and maybe focus on adding a little bit more reps for those, one or two that I truly need instead. So that way, that's where the efforts, the extra activity, that's where it's going to push me through. And, you know, make the time in the gym go faster, and be out a little bit earlier than spend time in the gym close to an hour 45, you know because not counting cardio, not counting abs, like some days it's already like an hour 30. So let's try to cut back on that time a little bit, because resting is definitely key at this point anyways. So I really need to utilize a lot of that rest time. So yeah, that's everything I got to talk about for my plan of attack. And yeah, it's just continuing on out, or continuing to keep up the pace coming up until the show, because you know everything's all set. It's there's no backing up right now. The money is already deposited in the places where it needs to be deposited. Well, except for the hotel. The hotel, they'll charge you when you actually check in. But anyways, everything's mostly everything is set up. Right? I just need to not be negative, still be cool going up until the show. All right? So stay tuned, and we'll be right back in a week.